Hi friends, welcome to our video on easy way to do community service projects. Today's sample project is on doing an integrated rural energy planning for a village or a mandal. We'll be discussing a sample report, how to go about writing a report after doing the community project on integrated rural energy planning for a village or a mandal. This video is made so general that every student of every village can do this particular type of survey, project and report in a particular village. You know, we have so many villages spread all over the country, and every student, every degree student for whom the community service project is made mandatory can be involved. The best returns what the students get is basically you will understand your own community, your own village in terms of energy perspective. So with this rationale, let's go ahead with our way of how easily we can do a community service project. It's a kind of a motivational video basically to give that ice-breaking action to all the faculty and students who are involved in doing these community service projects all over the state of Andhra Pradesh. Now with this few lines, let's get into the community service projects, how we go about it. So before we jump into the report format, let's understand the Andhra Pradesh State Council of Higher Education guidelines. What are the assessment components based on the entries of project log and project report? So the project log of the student is very, very important. So this type of study actually enables the student to maintain a project log by noting down so many points. So we'll be going through this. Let's understand on what basis the students are assessed after submitting the project report. That is basically the orientation to the community development, conducting a baseline assessment of developmental needs, number and quality of awareness programs organized on beneficiary programs, and improvement in quality of life, environment, and social consciousness, motivation and leadership, personality development, etc. And again, on number of quality and duration of intervention or service programs, programs mainly related to prevention or promotion programs that aim to promote behavioral change in defined community context to address social programs. And then follow-up programs suggested, well, in terms of referral services, bringing community participation, etc., and developing short and mid-term action plans in consultation with local leadership and local government offices. So these are all the points on which your project is assessed. So your entries in project log is very, very essential, and the project report, how you prepare. So before we go, let us understand the general project report format. Every project report will have a title, a table of contents, and then the introduction, then the body. So body will have again number of components, 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the project. And then conclusions with some recommendations, references, and annexure. So basically, this is exactly a general project report format. Your body will have a number of sections and subsections. Okay, let's go to the project report format as given by the AP State Council of Higher Education, which is a guide to all degree colleges in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Now, title page, if you see, the title page could be like this. This is anyway the general model, which is likely to help the students. You can always say the community service project report on integrated rural energy planning for so and so village or so and so mandal consisting of so many cluster of villages, sort of thing. Then submitted to Department of which, Department of Physics or Department of Commerce, Government Degree College, Anantapur, Uravkonda, Kalyanadurgam, your own college, in partial fulfillment of the internship during which semester, second semester or fourth semester, for the award of the degree of BSc, BA, BCom, etc. By the name of the student here, under the mentorship of, you can say, the faculty member who is lecturer in particular faculty, and conducted in the month of May, June or June 2022. So this could be a model title page for all the project reports. Then the table of contents, if you see, I have strictly followed the titles which are given by the AP State Council of Higher Education. and the entire format report considering the these guidelines only is prepared. So you can briefly write acknowledgements in the beginning. Then the first chapter could be on introduction, scope, objectives, and methodology. And this is the page number which we will be putting. Normally, it is suggested that you complete the report and write the table of contents in the end. That is exactly the best practice. Then you have to explain the project specifications, because the area you have chosen, and background of your work, which will be in page number. Then what are the problems identified in the project, analysis of the problems, community awareness programs conducted as a part of this, then intervention and service programs taken up in order to have an effective implementation, then short-term and long-term action plan for implementation, what you are suggesting out of this. The 8th chapter could be on recommendations and conclusions. Then you can have some references and then annexure. So every student has to follow this particular table of the content should be like this, and whatever may be your area of chosen project type. So you have to divide that into these kind of topics. Then go on describing each one topic. So briefly, acknowledgements could be like this. You can always say that I take this opportunity to thank Mr. So-and-so, or doctor or professor, your principal of the college first, then your head of the department, and then your faculty who have mentored and guided you to carry out this project. And then you can mention special thanks to Mr. So-and-so for continuous support in completing this community service project, whether they are from the village or from your friends or some other faculty who is helping you. You can always mention, these are only the examples. So you can then mention that I would like to acknowledge the help of 1, 2, 3 people from the which village or villages for providing all sorts of help carrying out this project, whether they are ward volunteers or sarpanch and any other leading person in the village who has helped you in doing this. And you can also acknowledge the cooperation of so many people whose assistance has been helpful in carrying out this project. Finally, you thank the authorities of your college for enabling you to understand this community service project. So this could be a page on acknowledgements, and you can also have a certificate page, which your college will anyway give you, that so-and-so is the bona fide work of done by so-and-so as a means of community service project in a particular village for impartial fulfillment for the award of degree in that particular sense. So that will be a certificate next. And then followed by the first chapter, which is on introduction, scope, objectives, and methodology. So you can say I have 1 or 2 paragraphs on introduction, basically introducing the topic. You can say that India has about 6 lakhs, although you have 5.98 lakhs or so, and just say, introduce the topic. So this particular topic, I have given you a sample format for integrated rural energy planning about a particular village, and this should go for other topics also, all those people who are doing. This should serve you as a guide and a model, as a template, how you should write the introduction. You can say that India has about 6 lakh villages supporting more than 75% of its total population, while it is heartening to note that 90% of the energy consumption from these rural areas is contributed by non-conventional energy sources. Although there are tremendous opportunities and challenges for reducing wastages of fuel, there is no single energy source, renewable or non-renewable, which can supply all energy needs of our village community. Okay, so you can say that by writing all these things, an integrated approach, hence an integrated approach for effective implementation of rural energy program would go a long way in serving the rural community. And then you can write some more sentences, because the rural people have more opportunities to get non-commercial fuels at almost zero cost. The social cost of meeting their needs has been increasing over the year. So hence you can say a particular village is chosen, you can write the name here, chosen for carrying out a sample survey for carrying out an integrated rural energy planning exercise as a part of community service project. And you can again say some more sentences with just a few lines, which well, it is impossible to give the entire report here. Then finally say present study is an important step towards fulfilling the vital needs of the villages, where you will be concentrating on improving the energy mix that the village has to adopt at the end of the study. So you can write some of the introductory lines related to the topic. Then the scope. Then they say scope of the study involves study of energy consumption and sources, different sources at village level. And then again you can write some more thing. Review the application and use of renewable energy sources which are already being used in the village. Then they study the consumption pattern of the energy resources, energy requirements in the village, identification of actionable efforts for renewable energy sources in the village in order to give a optimal mix. And then you can say so suitable recommendations will be given at the end of the thing. That will be the scope of the thing. So you can write like this any number of points as a scope of the study. Again, I reiterate that this is a sample topic question. You can suit this to your particular topic. Then the objectives to be fulfilled are to work out the energy demand, to formulate the integrated energy planning for the village, and to incorporate income generating activities for this, to bring out an awareness among the local populace of the village, and to involve the village community in its developmental process, and all these kind of objectives. These are not complete, but just one or two given. Then you can explain the methodology of the study. Okay, you can always say that an exhaustive questionnaire is prepared, providing identification particulars, details of agricultural land holdings, types of fuels used, different end users, and the quantum of energy used for different sectors. 100% survey will be conducted in the village. The collected data will be analyzed to find out the energy use pattern and to arrive at specific recommendations and conclusions. So that is how you can always say the methodology. You can always say that while conducting the survey, a small public meeting also will be arranged in association with the village officers to explain the purpose, scope, and objective of this project, and to bring out a much required awareness about the non-conventional energy sources, so as to ensure maximum cooperation and involvement of the people from the very beginning and in the overall implementation of the project. So like this, you can add so many sentences. Then this is a questionnaire. Normally this questionnaire will go to the annexure. I've just given it here basically to understand. So typical questionnaire will look like this, and you have to prepare, and this questionnaire is prepared for this particular project, and I've added so many points. You can always take a cue out of it and then formulate your own questionnaire for different types of topics. So you can always say population, male, female, children, families, SC, ST, BC, occupation, main economic activity of the village, who are the village resource persons. So if you note down all these points, this will be a very good logbook for you, student logbook, and this logbook will help you, in the assessment process. So when you go back to the college, you can always show that this is your log. Day 1 I have done, day 2, day 3, day 4, what you have been doing all these things. So you can always put a date and record in your logbook what details you have been conducting as a part of this questionnaire. So you can also mention sources of fuel, agricultural fuels, crop residues, electricity, wood, and others. Then part 2, you can have household details. What is the type of device or stove they are using, what fuel they are using, what quantity per month, where from they get, at what cost, whether it is a free car or at what cost, what are the problems in the usage. Then again on agricultural waste, you can say what are the sources, what quantity, whether it is available free or cost. Then livestock, poultry, what type of cattle, and how much dung they get per day, and these kind of things also they can have. Then if they have biogas plants, you can ask the questions on size, when it is installed, how it is functioning, and so how they are cooking, the time of cooking, how many varieties of food they are cooking. How do you can always get this information while charting them informally, but while talking to them, while chatting to them, you note down all these points, which will be a very good logbook of 10 to 20 pages at the end of the study, which will be very good for your assessment. Then you can also ask for availability of water, what source, is it suitable for drinking, how do you get the water, and then what are the farm machinery they have, and what is the livestock, and what they take from the cattle, and how they get milk, and what they sell, whether they have a dairy or they send it to consumers, whether they are provided fortified fodder by animal husbandry department, without going into the details, just to know that how much cattle is available or cattle waste is available, so that you can work out the biogas or bio waste needs, and what are your needs, including all energy areas. But we will be sticking as far as possible to the energy. Similarly, for the people who are doing in other things like animal husbandry, you can stick to that and collect all these points. What are your needs? Then what is the institutional support they are getting from government, Gram Panchayats, Mandal headquarters, agricultural officers, non-conventional energy department officers, that sort of thing. Then agricultural implements, what is the awareness they have, what are the problems, what are the needs, and what is the forestry awareness they have, because every village is likely to have an associated small hill or a forest area, that kind of thing. Then awareness on fuel, wood and kerosene, present uses, what are the problems, needs, then what are the skills of the family, whether they have any requisite skills, and women and child care, interest in participation, crop, what crops they grow, and how they get the electricity, how many bulbs they have, what are the energy consuming areas, what time, and these are all some of the things, although they are directly related or not, this data will give you, remember, you have to fill up your logbook first. So the more and more data you get without hurting them, it will be good for you, and it will also be good for your report preparation. Then the second chapter is on project specifications. You can always say, as a part of the project, you can say the historical background of the village, when the village was formed, how the what are all the villages, what is the there is always a specific reason for naming that village like that, and so these kind of things, boundaries and topography, what are the longitude and longitude, what is the forest area, and which river flows through this, rainfall and climate of this, and what are the different soils related to that village, total population, to what extent is land utilized for agriculture, then what are the natural resources available in the village, what are the energy resources used in the village, energy consumption pattern, providing optical mix as an integrated. So in each of these topics, you can always say a few sentences in each small topics. So then you will have a project specifications. So this from this you will be basically identifying the problems, problems in cooking, problems in lighting, problems in street light consumption, problems in smokeless stoves, problem in biogas plants, agricultural pump sets, tractors. So you will be basically focusing on these problems, how they are using the. So here the project specifications, they will be clearly identifying the what are all the problems identified in all these areas. So each one you can always explain: cooking, firewood consumption, how much they are consuming for all the households. You can get a selected sample survey from few, or if you have time, you can cover all the households or consumers in a village, or do a stratified random sampling for this, and then you can have the thing. So if you are a group of students working, you can always form groups and then collect the data. Then whatever the thing you should analyze the problems. Then you can say so-and-so village comprises of so many villages with so many hamlets, because every village will have 3-4 hamlets. And then the total population based on 2011 census is so much, comprising so and thing. The number of houses, because this analysis you are doing it from the data collected from the questionnaire and from your logbook. So when you compare these two, you can always arrive at the total number of households is so much, and an average household size is 4 or 5 family members. What is the literacy rate, and what is the livestock, both white and black cattle? How many cattle household works out to so many cattle per household? Then you can say what are all the crops: groundnut, red grams, oranges, some of the crops. So these are again remind you, these are all the templates, and you can always form the points on your own, because you will be the best person to do it when you are interacting with the villagers. Net irrigated area is so many hectares, and so many hectares is under rain-fed irrigation. Cultivable wasteland is about so many hectares, of which so much percentage of total geographical area, and part of this land can be utilized for energy plantations or biofuel plantations, which you might recommend if you find significant. So this is how you will be analyzing the problems. Then the primary source of energy for cooking is firewood. You can always mention based on the data, which is mostly either purchased or freely available, and you can also say to how far they fetch, whether they use any local weeds of the forest. In that case, it will be totally freely available for them. If at all they are purchasing, you can say with how much they are purchasing, with whom they are purchasing, how much in a month they are purchasing, and these kind of things. So LPG and kerosene or other fuels supplementing the kerosene needs in the village. Again, you can say LPG, how much they are getting, kerosene, how they are using, whether they are substituting and using firewood, kerosene, and LPG. These settle, because some of them for hot water they may be using this, for milk they may be using stove, for that sort of thing. All that you can explain in this paragraph. Each point here, each sentence here can form a particular paragraph. That is the reason why I have used dots. You can write so much. So many gas connections in the village, and most of them are available beneficiaries are not. Gas is occasionally used or regularly used. Average consumption of LPG cylinder, you can say bi-monthly or tri-monthly, and lighting needs are met by electricity and kerosene. This also you can mention to how many bulbs they have, how many kerosene they have, and the following. So all these things you can summarize it in a table like this: present energy consumption and cost details of a particular village. You can say activity, whether it is cooking, lighting, agriculture, and others, and what is the source of energy: firewood, kerosene, LPG, electricity, kerosene, pump sets, tractors. What are the number of consumers you have in a particular village? Consumption per year per consumer, how much? Annual consumption per consumer. And then cost per unit, and then total cost. So likewise, if you see tentatively, this is again a sample figure. You can have your own value for a particular village, because as I said, every student can do for every village. So that this is the best way to cover all the villages if you can really do it. So for cooking, your firewood is being used by 830 consumers, assuming that the village has 915 persons. And then firewood is used by 830 households. 830 households, and each consumption of a household is 1200 kg per year. Then cost will be negligible, and even if it is cost at 1 rupee, because to take care of their all these things, 9,96,000. Kerosene, same 830 consumers, 12 liters at 10 rupees, so much. LPG, so subtotal for cooking is 13,67,000 rupees for that village per annum. Okay, so this is again a tentative figure. I've just taken a hypothetical figures just to give you an idea. You can always arrive at the fine points. So lighting, again, electricity, 900 households are consuming 1200 each. At 4 rupees, it will cost 43 lakhs. Kerosene, 915, 20 liters and 10 rupees per liter, 1,83,000. Subtotal is 45 lakhs for electricity. Similarly, for agricultural pump sets, because although they are using 88,000 units, it is almost free given by the government. Then tractors, 9 households have tractors, and so many diesel they are consuming, and at 100 rupees, 6,48,000. So subtotal for agriculture. So grand total is 65.3 lakhs is the energy cost of the village. Okay, but now you are classifying them. Probably you can put these are all the major problems identified in cooking, lighting, agriculture. You are optimally mixing the energy consumption areas. So then you can possibly say the total energy needs of the village are met both from commercial and non-commercial sources of energy, and how much from conventional, how much is commercial, how much is non-commercial, what is the energy consumption per year. You can always mention 65 lakhs or so. The source-wise energy consumption, you can, based on this, from this table, for firewood is how much, kerosene is how much, LPG is how much, electricity is how much, pump set is how much. That's exactly what you can, diesel, how much you can. So you can say consumption per year, you can mention here, cost per year, you can mention what is the percentage of each of this. So this is why, this is how you are analyzing the source-wise consumption of the village. So best thing is you should have a graphical representation. You should have tables, and you should have graphical representation. And this is just this is not the actual figures. You can always draw a pie chart for these values. What is the percentage of firewood, percentage of kerosene, percentage of LPG, sort of thing. This is just an idea. This is how you can draw the household electricity consumption in terms of pie. So then you can say energy needs for cooking works out what is the percentage of energy that is for cooking, percentage of energy for electricity. You can always also calculate specific cost of energy per person. So this the total cost of energy divided by total population. You can always say for cooking so much, lighting so much, agriculture so much, and others so much. You can arrive at this figure, which is not a great thing. Then you can then the very important component in this community service project is organizing a community awareness programs. You have to organize 2 to 3 community awareness programs in the village at regular intervals of every 2 to 3 days or every week, you can conduct a community awareness with respect to the problems and outcomes. So cooking, lighting, these are all our problems we have identified when it comes to energy. So we are identifying this. So you can also take a group photo of some of the small gatherings of the villages, so that you can always put it in the report as a proof or evidence. So you can say that around so many villagers attended the awareness program conducted and so date from so and so time, and you have involved local sarpanch, village volunteers, and other dignitaries of the village, very important people. So the villages were explained about the energy resources available in their village and their consumption pattern. And some of the villagers interacted with their experience. You can always say what are their experiences programs. So this section is all about describing the community awareness program that you have conducted. You can say that you have taken the feedback and ideas and perspectives. Some of the villages were very impressed and very enthusiastic, because some of the youth will be there who will be very much interested. And the discussions should be mostly focused on the improvement of quality of life, environment, and social consciousness. So this you have to take care while conducting a community awareness program. So you can give in this chapter the details of that community awareness programs. Then interventions and service programs were taken up. So out of the study related to the problems, what are the interventions, what are the service programs that you have taken? So you can again, you can conduct 2 or 3 these kind of service programs, where you are involving them in cleaning the woods, any for a better hygiene and sanitation conditions. You can always have a clean and green program for half a day or so, by involving some of the thing. And you can say that you can always do a bioscience people do some blood grouping program, or some of the commerce people are there. You can say what is the consumer awareness, you can say, and some of the computer science people, you can say that how they are using their mobiles and what is the cyber security aspects, and this kind of thing you can always service programs you can always take up. And you can always write in the report that some of the villagers who are using crude wood stoves were encouraged about a makeshift smokeless stove, and then this stove had an efficiency so much of smoke was coming, there was no proper chimney, there was no proper ventilation in the house, and you can mention all these things. So these were interventions, and you helped them, and these were the service programs in improving their lifestyle. And then you can say a few of them came out with some innovative ideas to reduce the smoke by improvising the cooking process, either by then videos were, you can also say that show some videos to villagers about the general hygiene and maintain healthy cooking habits, healthy lighting habits, healthy life living, all these kind of things. Like this, you can go on mentioning what are all the different interventions what we have done. Like I have given one example of improving the working of the crude wood stove, and use it with a smokeless wood stove by providing a small chimney, by doing small modifications. So these are some of the interventions, which is an example. Like this, you can have any number of interventions and service programs which can be taken up in a particular village. Then based on all these things, you can always divide the recommendations in terms of short term and long term action plan you can give for implementation. You can say that the village has a very endowed with a good amount of solar radiation, because important energy related resources of the village could be solar radiation, wind speed, cow dung, biomass, etc. Some villages will have very good wind speed in that. Some villages will have very good solar radiation in a year, and biomass availability is so much, cattle dung is so much. So you can go on explaining the solar energy is abundant use and how many days in a year in that particular village, which you can collect the data and say. Then the bioresources about the energy plantation, you can say the concept of plantation, we all know, it involves the use of selected strains of tree and plant species sown on a short rotation system. While the original concept is based on the forest plantation for the production of biomass, considerable attention is now being paid to enlarge scope and include even the agricultural crop as a potential fuel plantation. So this kind of thing you can always gather some information, do some literature. You will get so much of information from the Google and write small paragraph on forest residues, on crop residues, on waste, animal wastes that they are doing. And then you can say that annual energy saving technologies in order to run households in rural areas and to achieve full mechanization of agriculture, what are all required. And it is required to tap all the resources of energy and energy saving devices and technology. So assessing all these things, you will be fixing a short-term and long-term action plan for the village. You can always say short-term, say cooking, and for this particular problem which we have identified, cooking and associated domestic activities, you can go for improved stoves, smokeless stoves, family-sized biogas plants, solar cookers, pressure cookers, solar hot waters, and all these are the short-term measures. Then another short-term measure in light, in domestic lighting, moving from kerosene to electricity, replacing incandescent lamps with LED lamps and electronic ballast for the tube lights, if you already have. And then long-term could be an irrigation, move from diesel to electric pump sets, rectification of existing electrical pump sets. Then another long-term will be renewable energy sources, energy plantation in wastelands, and biogas generation can be explored. Another long-term could be captive power generation. The village itself can have solar power plant and wind power plant if you can really pull up some resources and do this kind of thing. So ultimately, you will be giving a short-term and long-term. Again, let me remind you that these are only a sample points arrived at. You can always enlarge and enhance based on the study that you will be doing on your own domain of topic. Then you can say finally the recommendations and conclusions. Say based on all these things, the suggested recommendations are the energy plantation in the village as large if the village has large uncultivable area, and you can always say that so much of area in so many hectares, energy plantation can be done. How energy plantation can help improve the economic health of the village, and these points you can write. Then you can write another paragraph on improved cooking methods using smokeless stoves by doing small frugal innovations to your cooking methods, cooking habits, cooking times, and all these things you can always recommend to the villagers. Then installation of family-sized biogas plants, how they will be using it. You can briefly explain to them what is the family-sized biogas plant and where they can get the help, and all that information you can give. And pressure cookers, as you know, they save considerable gas consumption when they are using. And you can always tell them in terms of economics that it's not very expensive, but it saves a lot of time and fuel for this. So this again you can explain. LED lamps in place of incandescent bulbs, and again you can explain them. Solar photovoltaic street lights can be arranged in the villages. So these are all some of the recommendations for, you can write it in this particular report. Again, if the topic is different, recommendations could be on these lines. Then you can say, you can conclude your report saying that integrated energy, rural energy planning exercise is conducted for so-and-so village as a part of community service project of the internship of the college of the students from during the period, so-and-so, all that you can just write a first paragraph. In the second paragraph, you can write so-and-so teacher guided in the completion of the project. Then so-and-so of the village people helped you in the process. Then the data is collected with the help of a questionnaire, which is given in the annexure, covering so many parts, and you can say the data has been analyzed for better energy consumption and optimal mix. Then another paragraph, and like this you can write so many sentences. And you can, next paragraph, you can have the village offers good scope for implementing latest energy resources and technologies to bring out integrated approach to for planning energy use in a particular village. Then you can also mention, compliment the villagers. The help of the villagers were so good. And you can refer them, because the referral is also very, very important in assessment. The villagers were referred to the local NETCAP because non-conventional renewable and energy development corporation of Andhra Pradesh in the district headquarters and other DRDO, district rural development office officials for further information in this regard. A follow-up action is to be suggested after a month. The team will visit the thing to further guide the implementation of the program. Then in the end, you can organize an exit meeting with some of the villagers, say, just to tell them what you have done and what you have learned out of them, just to thank them for the thing, motivating them. This exit meeting is very, very important for a follow-up action. And whenever you go to that village next time, and even if there is an iota of improvement in their quality of life, in their quality of cooking, you will be a hero to that village. Okay, so you can mention that exit meeting was organized on the last day and so on. So most of the villagers expressed satisfaction about the entire activity. So this is how you can conclude your report, and then you can mention the references: Government of India manuals, Government of India manual, district manuals, NetCap manuals, and integrated rural energy planning schemes, and all these things. Any reference, you can always give the references here. This is a must. Then in annexure, you can say questionnaire, you can add material regarding energy saving technologies, you can add if it serves for the purpose. Then other relevant data, whatever is relevant, you can always mention it in the annexure. So this is exactly what it is about, and this is an iota of attempt from my side to help the students and faculty of this particular in this particular area for covering your community service projects. In order to help the students and faculty, I've taken a sample project of integrated rural energy planning of a particular village, and the report is also formed, all these things. Hope this particular video has definitely helped you, and this will motivate you in participate yourself in the community service projects being made mandatory by Commissionerate of Collegiate Education with the guidance from AP State Council of Higher Education. So thank you very much.